Corsi, I'm here.
Hey,
Good
Doc.
afternoon.
How's everybody?
We're doing fine. How are you doing today, Doctor?
Oh, I've been on the radio all day.
Well, I'll tell you what, your radio is doing well. We just put up a post here that one of our guys DM'd to me that I understand your book is doing very well at Amazon right now.
Well, we fought with Amazon all day, and the book's number 11. I think it was. I looked at maybe number 15 right now.
I think it was number 11 when I looked just a little bit ago, Doctor.
Yeah, it was. I think Amazon just conceded. They just agreed to take the ad and stop fighting. So they agreed we're now qualified to have ads.
Fantastic.
So they actually conceded. I mean, it was really a major turnaround. I'm sure Bezos must have gotten in touch with somebody and said, "What are you guys doing over there? You know, I mean, how many billions you want to cost me, right?"
Yeah, really.
But it's quite a victory. And I thanked everybody on Twitter, and I thank everybody here, because it was everybody objecting to it. And, you know, it's not so much about selling books as it is about the censorship and about the, fighting for getting the ability of conservatives to be able to publish books. I mean, next thing they're going to do is ban the book altogether.
Well, their job is to help sell them, not censor them.
Right, and to not have a political point of view or orientation about what is acceptable and what's not acceptable. One has one set of rules, one has another. I mean,
Exactly.
it's the Nazis who burned books and the communists. And I guess Bezos wants not to be in that category today. But they're inclined to. I mean, you catch them at this, you beat them back, but you know that Amazon or you know that New York Times really hate the book. They don't want anybody reading Killing the Deep State. They don't want anybody saving Trump. They want Trump to be, handcuffed and let out of the way in the Oval Office. That's what they want. And it's just not going to happen.
I agree.
But we're going to have to fight. If it weren't for, the anonymous movement and for the Make America Great Again movement, we wouldn't have a chance. If Trump had not won the election, I hate to think where we'd be right now.
It'd be an ugly, ugly world, and getting uglier by the moment.
Can somebody post here the link, and I'll put it up in Twitter and let everybody know I'm here, and I'll put it on Gab as well.
It's there for you now.
Okay, thank you. Can we get the link that says live at the end, the one that is live at the end? That's one I think they like us to post best, or hold on for a second. Okay. But pardon me?
Sorry, Doctor. I was just saying when they gave it out to you about your links that you were dropping, they weren't happy with them.
With what? We pounded Amazon today. I thought they really got a dose of what I was thinking, what everybody else was thinking. It's the only way they change their minds. They didn't want to change their minds. They didn't. But I think at the same time they realized that all they needed to do was going to get Donald Trump's attention pretty quick, and there'd be just more fuel for the fire, which is to, I think, regulate, like Q says, regulate all of these social media very extensively. I think it's coming.
Dr. Corsi, do they have like a fire team when something like this comes up in the administration that basically contacts these outfits and basically puts them on notice?
Not really. I mean, it's the most effective is when Trump himself tweets, which is why they all try to keep him from tweeting. And hold a second. Okay, I'm just getting it ready to go here to post the on Twitter. Posting it now, and then on Gab. Posting it now.
Yeah, one of our live chatters here, he says, Corsoni just popped Bezos in the clown nose. Ha ha ha, mega.
Well, I did. I'm sure you all are reading them or discussing them because I was doing everything I could to really get the point across to Bezos that, you know, the censorship has got to stop. And the social media treating conservatives as if we were, you know, somehow unacceptable, deplorables, and they had a right to prohibit us. That's completely unacceptable. And it's one of the reasons why we're fighting so hard to, we're fighting so very hard to preserve the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And, you know, I continue to say thank God for Donald Trump, and thank God for QAnon and the anonymous movement, the MAGA movement. This is what it's going to take in order to win. And I believe we intend to win, and Donald Trump intends to win.
In the live chat here, Bruce Marcus says Trump is a 10th degree tweeter.
10th degree tweeter. Well, I can see that. Where is Trump speaking today? Is he speaking? Is he out of the White House today? I haven't had a chance to really even review the White House press releases.
He's doing a speech. He already did it, and one of our guys was monitoring it. But I can't remember where it exactly was. It's been a busy morning.
Sulphur Springs?
Yeah, it's not Maryland. It was in Virginia. It was
Virginia.
It was someplace in Virginia. I know that.
Did he say anything of real value? I mean, did he say anything?
Let me look. Let me see if I can pull up some stuff on that, and I'll let you know.
Because I think it was, you know, yesterday. Well, hold on a second.
Our chat says he's in West Virginia.
Yes. Is he there now?
I believe so. Thumper will have an update for you now shortly.
He just finished, Doctor.
And did he say anything of real significance?
First part of the speech was about border security. Obviously, that's in the news lately. Being in West Virginia, he talked mainly about clean coal and the tax reform, and then had a lot of people in the banking industry and the coal industry, you know, just giving their shout out to the president. He hammered Joe Manchin, West Virginia Democrat, pretty hard.
And I'm wondering, you know, they have yesterday the Q post, which said POTUS will be up all night. Pray, watch the news tomorrow. Do we have any sense of what that was about? I didn't see any really big announcements in the news today. That I was looking for something that might be pretty momentous, but I don't see it. Does anyone else see it today? Yes.
Well, we were speculating that it could have could possibly be something happening on the southern border because of the helicopter crash with the 4 Marines aboard and other things that seem to be going on there, and the fact that he did send the National Guard to the southern border as well.
Just a live chat coming in with a breaking news there, Dr. Corsi. 5.3 earthquake out just off Los Angeles, just being released there now. Just for your. Just
okay, so that just got really. Okay, that's must be breaking news because I have not seen anything of that yet. Let me just pull up here what the live chat's saying. Yes.
Somebody's saying it's centered around the Channel Islands area, which is just off of northern Los Angeles, Santa Barbara area there, I believe.
Okay. Let's keep on a watch on that. See what they develop on that. I don't see any other. I don't see any major news that's come out yet today. The Zuckerberg, of course, is in the news, and he's going to testify next week. I'm not sure what it is. And we did get one new post, didn't we? I'm hearing an echo in the back. Somebody might have an open mic. There was a new post today at 1:10. Said 5x5 Q plus. Did we see
he was
that?
asking after me.
Pardon me?
I think he was asking after the Gran Torino, Dr. Corsi.
I think so too. You always say 5x5. Yeah, that's a Q plus. That's another one of the, I think, Q identities, the Q plus, which I've identified to be more the technical, the more the one giving the operational efforts and orders. We can go over some of the big points from yesterday because I think there are so many there that we really didn't cover them all. Anyone have a plan that anything you'd like to cover today that we need to cover?
No,
day's not over yet. Yeah, day's not over yet. We might still get some good information. Go ahead.
No, I just somebody's got an open mic there. Yeah, just the some of there's some pretty heavy duty stuff in those Q posts there. And I'm just on my laptop, so I can't have too many screens open here at the same time. So I think just looking at some of those and decoding some of those, because there were some very significant statements made in those Q posts.
Yeah,
I think we go over those easily. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I definitely had some things in those Q posts that I'd love to get your perspective on that I've been kind of kicking around. I've been on here all day, and I've been kind of kicking them around, beat some ideas around. So I definitely have some questions when we get to them.
Okay, we'll start that in a second. I'm just looking through to see if there's anything I got in. Hold us on for a second. Anything in the emails I got that was of significance?
One of the interesting ones there is post number 1020, where he goes, he talks about used against them, NG, now active, refer to old drops, RESA/NG, the wave. And the only posts that we could see were back in the, I think it was number 77 or 75, somewhere in that area, where, he was talking about SA and NG in those posts as well. And then the wave, a lot of people are thinking about that, might possibly be the wave of people moving through Mexico towards our southern border.
Probably. That makes sense. Hold on, I'm just kind of screening things through things for a second, see if I missed anything today. I've been so tied up in the radio, I've gotten off of one radio interview and on to the next one today. And see if there's anything here. I think it doesn't seem like there's anything that's special is getting picked up on the news today yet. Day is not over.
Can change in a moment.
Can change in a second. And
the other interesting one that we were looking at is post 1016, the part there where it says omnibus bill, the gift that keeps on giving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, there's so many special benefits in there for so many. Yes, the CDC doctor was found dead today. Does anybody know what that is about? That I got a message on that earlier today. In fact, I think it was Jack Posobiec was pointing out not only the doctor that died, but this whole disease X that the World Health Organization has been investigating since February, disease X. But these doctors dying, maybe that, let me see here. Here's, these are the, Cunningham, a doctor named Cunningham was found dead in the NIH today. And let's see, he did a paper on vital signs, racial disparities, and age-specific mortality among blacks or African Americans. Okay, I'm sure the left probably doesn't like that article. And,
yeah, it seems nefarious. His brother gave a testimony that he's been missing for months now. They just found him in the river. He left his dog and his wallet, and this is very uncharacteristic. So your antenna raises automatically.
Well, Q said to cover medical research or deaths. He said to follow those. And I posted a link to a dashboard that I built from some compiled data that we found on medical research or deaths in the Discord chat. But you could see how many people are young and die of weird causes that are researching different medical fields. I have it all broken down there to look at.
Hold on. Just one thing here. Okay, so here they have, this is Center Disease Control should not receive gun research funding. This is an article I must be related somehow or other to this Cunningham because someone sent it to me. I don't know how it applies. I haven't had a chance to research it at all, but that may be another thing we should look into. He knew about the engineering of viruses. People are saying that this doctor did know about the engineering of viruses. And there is this secret disease X that the CDC has been researching since February. And I don't have a clue as to whether or not, these are related or not, but there's something to look into. Cunningham warned the public not to take flu shots this year. He was against the vaccinations. He didn't, I believe he didn't tell his neighbor to delete his number. I don't know what that's about. People talking about the medical researching deaths, which there's been quite a few. And Q has pointed this out. Here's something. Go ahead.
If you click the link I put in the Discord chat, Dr. Corsi, it's one of those dashboards.
Yes. Here it is. That's very interesting. A lot of medical researcher deaths since 2015. Very interesting.
I want to say thank you to Redcord for getting that data from the websites onto a spreadsheet for me. She did an awesome job make this possible.
That's a great dashboard. I love it.
Yeah, so the color is how the average age of the people that died.
Yeah, they seem to be pretty young.
Yeah, definitely. If you use that drop down, you can switch from cause of death to what they were researching, like their expertise. So you can kind of see what areas these people were working in that died.
Very interesting. Yeah, I see. Okay, well, look, let's keep researching that. Let's go back to the Q posts from yesterday. And I guess we can take up on, go back to the first one we got yesterday which was, let's see, was it 10-1008, which
I believe that's correct.
yeah, that's, and I've had a lot of discussion today about this Manafort being a plant, including some people who believe that Manafort, his role in Ukraine was really somehow a plant in the Trump campaign to draw people in that would talk about Russia. You know, that he was would attract the Russian dialogue. He had this background in Russia. I still am struggling to see, a plant usually means somebody who was working with the FBI and was on the inside of the deal and was there to entrap others. And somehow with Manafort, under the kind of indictment he is, it doesn't seem like he was working with the FBI. I mean, Carter Page, who's also mentioned here as a plant, is not indicted. So that makes it more easy to see, or easier for me to see Carter Page as a plant, whereas I'm still struggling for how Manafort was a plant. Do we maybe get anything interesting on that over on the Q research? Did anybody take a look at that in the Q research?
Right now, we're trying to. There's a word out there that possibly Rod Rosenstein might be subpoenaed today, and one of the researchers is checking that right now.
Being subpoenaed by above the Congress?
He didn't say. I don't know. Would it be through the special counsel?
Well, that's, the special counsel's been checking recently these Russian oligarchs to see if they contributed money. It seems to me we're pretty far down the path of the special counsel running out of gas. There's not much left to check.
Well, and then Sessions put together another special prosecutor yesterday too, right?
A second one?
Yeah. That's what I'd heard.
No, only the one I know of is this Rubin.
He appointed Huber.
I mean, Huber yeah.
Huber as a special prosecutor.
Yeah, that was done. I don't think it was done yesterday. I think that was done earlier.
Oh, was that okay?
Yeah, but that's been done. That we knew about. I mean, that Huber is appointed, I think has been known. I'm just interested in this Manafort and seeing if there's anything here on. Hold on, let me just see what they know in Q research on Manafort. That didn't really get picked up much in the Q research.
By the way, did you happen to know that this Robert Mueller's sister works at the CDC?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, one of our anons just dropped that to me here. He says that let Dr. Corsi know Rob Mueller's sister works at CDC, so that man's death is suspicious in and of itself.
Well, that's a possibility. Especially if he was on to something. It was on to something that had to do with the, a subject like vaccines, or he was on to, who knows? I mean, it's worth investigating into. I just don't have a clue. Let me see here the, if I can find anything on Manafort that is, I'm still just trying to figure out how Manafort could be a plant. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Now, Deplorable Patriot says Manafort was tied in with the Podesta Group, and he was a Hillary plant, just like the rest of them.
So Manafort is a Republican operative. He comes in the same group with Roger Stone and Manafort were young associates of Charlie Black. Charlie Black is a long-term Washington Republican operative. Very, very well known, very good. And I just don't see Manafort having been in any way working with the FBI or with Hillary. It would be astounding if he did. See if the conservative treehouse has anything. Sometimes they're pretty good at figuring these things out. No, and again, I don't see anything.
Just a quick note on Huber. He's been in place since November of 2017. We only found out about it last week, though.
Okay. I'm just wondering when he's going to produce some indictments.
Well, would he have been working on these 25,000 or nearly 25,000 indictments? You think
possibly. Again, we don't know. We just don't know what they are. They may have been, some of those I suspect are MS-13. Some I think are child trafficking. Some may be sealed indictments from, the Huber investigation. We just don't know. Okay, hold on a second.
Look at when the indictments started piling up. Go back to when they started piling up. You're going to see a correlation between when Huber got put on the job and when they started to pile up.
Well, and Q seems to think that they're going to be, he said something about unsealed here recently. He was, hold on. Didn't he said unsealed? I remember unsealed. No, seal's broken maybe. Yeah, seal's broken, 989. Rod Rosenstein, seal's broken. Inspector General report. Sessions public attack. Rod Rosenstein problems, which he's got now. Arrests. Seal's broken and arrests. It could well be some of those indictments. Some of those seals are indictments having to do with the, this coup d'etat conspiracy. Everything has meaning. Awan, that became public. Tarmac meeting. Iran, U1, North Korea. All these things make sense here. This one was a pretty clear one, I thought. 998. 992 was very interesting also. Drops will go fast. White House clean signal intelligence. Marker, everything is planned years. They've been planned for years. The message, unity awakening, we fight Lexington Concord, stand together. Lexington and Concord were in April, weren't they? The battles in 17?
I believe so, yes.
Yes, I think so too. And follow Bolton. I think John Bolton is going to be a white hat in all this. Operators safe. The moving everybody to the border, moving the troops to the border is a big move. And coincidence, another mainstream media narrative shift upon the release of damaging news. People are waking up, trace the background of the shooter, focus on the father, 20 years. Is that the current shooter, the shooter who was in YouTube, is he referring to, or is he referring to the shooter in YouTube?
Shooter.
Who was her father?
Who else has got that? I can't recall. I mean, he's really kind of a nobody. Nothing really extraordinary about him, from what I recall. I know some other folks were actually discussing it in the Discord, so they may have some more sauce than I do.
That's correct, Thumper. Not much on the YouTube shooter's father, so that kind of led us to believe that he possibly could be talking about little Piglet over in Parkland's father.
Who's this? Oh, yes, okay. I'm just typing something.
Dustin Nemos just dropped in and left an archive of all of the YouTube shooters content from a web archive, if you guys want to check that out.
It's just been such a busy day today. Everything is piled up on me. I'm just trying to catch up with instant messages. I'm going to leave tomorrow to go down to Washington to be there for sure when we have the book signing. And I want everybody to know I'll be there for the book signing on Saturday. But I'm going to go on Friday to get, in case the snowstorm up here in New York is really bad on Friday, Saturday, I'll have gotten there Friday night. So I'll be there available for the Saturday book signing. And everything looks good for the rally. What do we know about the rally? Is it still all planned and everybody's planning to go?
As far as we know.
Okay. Okay, let's just continue with all of this with the I mean, I think the key, I still don't understand the Manafort being a plant. That one still has me intrigued. But the rest of this is pretty clear. The rest of all these are pretty clear that, the Iran, nuclear, North Korea, uranium one, all of these things are part of what the criminality was in terms of the Obama administration and the coup d'etat plot. And then the election integrity, the immigration bill, these things are coming forward. The immigration bill, I don't know if it's going to pass or not, but I think the wall has increasing chances of being built once the National Guard is down there. And so I think I think again it's going to be a big month in that I expect that we're going to move toward ending the special counsel role. And if the special counsel is now investigating whether any Russian oligarchs contributed money that got then siphoned off to the Trump campaign, I think that they're, again, really in a fishing expedition. They don't have any real reason to believe, unless there's something, of course, they may know something we don't know. But, I mean, the money the Clintons over the years have attracted in their campaigns from foreign sources, including in the Clinton Foundation, and the multiple opportunities the Clintons have had for money laundering, these things don't seem to attract the attention, the special prosecutor, but going on a fishing expedition to see if any Russian oligarchs contributed money to the NRA that was then siphoned off into Trump's campaign. And I doubt they're going to find any kind of money like that. That's now the focus of the investigation. I mean, it truly is a fishing expedition, just finding anything they can find on any theory that they can find that would tie it to Russia. The other thing that was, I think, besides the border and the issues, the which I think in these yesterday were so clear. You know, I'm taking a look at 1009, where Q is raising the issue of the border being used for MS-13, for sex trafficking, for children trafficking, for drugs, for guns, for China and Russia to pass intel through. I mean, all these reasons are reasons why the border needs to be secured. And between McCain and Flake, you know, they are blocking the road. They need to be removed themselves. The wall means more than you know. The fight for the wall is so much more, because it's about all these other issues that the wall, you know, that the wall not being there is allowing Mexico to pass into the United States. Okay, I'm just looking and seeing what else we have. Also the pedophilia issues and the Satanism issues, and a couple of interviews talking about those, because those issues seem to be intensifying again in Q's analysis, and seem to be coming back again with a greater strength and a greater urgency. I like the prediction that you know, under the that John McCain may not run again, seek another term. That would be good. I was wondering about, you know, this 1020 used against them. The National Guard is now active. Refer to the old drops, SANG, the wave. I still think SA means South America, or some people speculated whether or not the National Guard was involved in the extractions on Saudi Arabia.
Some people are saying that Saudi Arabia actually has their own National Guard.
Yes, they do. But I think in this context, I mean, it could be wrong. It just seems like South America makes more sense for, you know, used against them. The NG is active now. It's not active in regard to Saudi Arabia.
Right.
Okay, what do we have in live chat?
Dr. Corsi, I had a quick thought I wanted to run by you.
Okay.
In post 744, remember when they were sitting on the flowers, Clinton and the North Korean leaders, and then you know, with Obama's portrait, you know, he's sitting in front of the flower, and Q said April showers, and you know, the second half of that saying is, you know, brings May flowers. Do you think there's anything to that at all? Like April's going to set up something in May involving that? I don't know. It was just something that kind of popped into my head.
It could be. I mean, it's all kind of tied together. Could be. I mean, both Clinton and Obama are going to be increasingly under investigation. Here, Pinson Patriot said Rod Rosenstein just got served a subpoena to appear before Congress and bring all documents related to Hillary's email investigation, ASAP.
I just got this in. Flipper just posted this. He says that Manafort was recommended by Roger Stone, was also with Sheriff Israel a week before the Parkland shooting.
Manafort was?
Well, no, he was recommended by Roger Stone, and Roger Stone was getting his picture taken with Sheriff Israel there a week before the Parkland shooting. They're all connected.
Well, Stone lives down there. And if he was having his picture with Israel, it may have more to do just with where Stone's living and getting some peace and some protection where he lives. Stone and Manafort have been buddies for a long time. Yes, I know Stone recommended Manafort because at that point in Trump's campaign, he needed somebody who could help him herd the delegates in the primaries to make sure he was going to win on the first ballot. And Manafort played a big role coming in and getting professional management and discipline over the delegates, because the Democrats were trying to pick off Trump delegates to go rogue and not vote for Trump on the first ballot at the Republican National Convention. Recall, that was all in play at the time. But Manafort's coming onto the campaign, I took at the time to be very important, because Trump needed to be able to get those delegates in line, or he was not going to be able to win on the first ballot. So again, I think it's I don't know how the interpretation is that Manafort is a plant when he was really playing a very positive role in the campaign. Okay, Manafort was set up by the Ukrainian government. Report of secret ledger bribes. I remember that. The Ukrainians later retracted it. They're McCain Ukrainian Nazis. Again, Manafort's role in Ukraine is very controversial. But whether or not he was a plant in the Trump campaign, I think it was a positive element in Trump's campaign. I don't think he was working for the prosecutors. Okay.
I got something that's really interesting here. I'm going to post it up there. Take a look at it when I get it posted there, Doctor.
Facts about White House logs last year. Odd late-night meetings of 302 people signed in different first names of Strozik, not Peter. Question of Navy meetings. Truth leaks. I don't know. That's George Webb. I'm not sure what that's about. Okay, let's take a look at what you dropped here.
It's that blue meme there. There's another one I'm going to drop it here in a second.
Okay, let me look at it. What does Russia have invested in Trump? He needs to release his taxes. Russia's relationship with Trump extends all the way through his campaign. Do your homework. Look up the Gazprom Energy, the Alpha Bank. Okay, Carter Page, former policy advisor to Russia, close connection with Gazprom. Gazprom is a Russian energy. It was run by Putin aide after 2005. Page advised Gazprom in the largest deals under Putin. Page formed Global Energy Capital, which counsels foreign investors to invest. Page admitted sanctions by the Clinton and Obama hurt him by drying up his potential deals. Page is also an investor and attends investor annual meetings. Richard Byrd is on the board and advising Alpha Bank, the largest commercial bank in Russia. Here, he is there advising and on the board of an investment firm that shares in Gazprom Bank. When the RNC platform was finalized last week, the Trump campaign was hands-off along the passage of socially conservative agenda. With one little thing, they came back with a softer side on the party's stance on Ukraine and Russia. See, all this seems to me to be nothing. I mean, what's, you know, that was not a crime for Trump to be involved with Russia. Okay. I don't see any Manafort connection that makes sense to me at all. The Vatican Bank, clearly Q is targeting the Vatican Bank and the Rothschilds. There was a lot of discussion yesterday, and I want to make clear that, while I'm a strong supporter of Israel, it doesn't mean that every Jew in the world is on, God's side. And the Rothschilds, I think, are legitimately attacked as central bankers and as this whole scheme of getting global control over money, which is separate from Israel, and separate for support from Israel. I mean, I can see the Rothschilds as, an evil family in terms of their greed and the money issues without having to go into anything that's anti-Semitic or in any way negative on Jews as a whole. The fact that they're Jewish is not central to why I'm opposing them. Oppose them because of what they did with central banking. And when 1017, when Q says Obama timeline 1/20/17 to today, cross against POTUS's schedule, cross against the White House visitor log, I had a couple of posts on where Obama has been recently. I'm just going to find those for a second here.
Well, he's been traveling overseas quite a bit.
A lot.
I understand, yeah.
You think he called that the farewell tour?
I think he did that already. Well, let's see. Here are a few I got that were pretty interesting. Let me just take a look at these. Hold on. Okay, so President Obama gave a secret speech at the 2018, what is this, Sloan Sports Analytic Conference in Boston. He addressed the crowd during the first session of the Obama Foundation Summit in Chicago. Okay. The MIT Sloan Sports Analytic Conference apparently called for attendees of Obama's speech, which took place inside the Boston Convention and Exhibit Hall, to keep it a secret. 44th President of the United States will address the conference on February 23rd at the Boston Convention Center. A lifelong sports fan and athlete, President Obama will address a wide range of issues in his talk, from his most memorable moments in the White House to his post-presidency plans. But the attendees and members of the media were given a policy that requires them not to talk about it. All right, well, we still don't know what he talked about there.
One of our guys is asking you to take a look at that post by Ninja Warrior there. It says it's from, it looks like post number 15 back in October.
Post 15, okay, hold on.
It's right there in the Discord there.
There are more good people than bad. The wizards and warlocks inside them will not allow another satanic evil POS control our country. Realize Soros, Clinton's, Obama, Putin, etc. were all controlled by three families. Fourth was removed after Trump's victory. Podesta indicted, 11-3, 11-6, Huma indicted. Manafort was placed into Trump's camp as well as others, the corruption that will come out was so serious that deals must be cut for people to walk away, because otherwise 70% of elected politicians would be in jail. A deep cleaning is occurring in prevention and defense of pure evil, occurring on a daily basis. They never thought they were going to lose control of the presidency, not just D's, and thought they had control since making past mistakes, JFK and Reagan. Is that 15? Is that accurate? Look.
Yeah, it's post number 15, it looks like.
Yeah, Doc, that's directly from keybase.pub is where I screenshotted that from. And tying that in, I think that Manafort was planted by the RNC or the Never Trumpers in order to subvert the campaign, because they didn't want him to win either. They were working against him, or at least they thought that they were working against him with Manafort, and Manafort's ties to Ukraine and to Russia would play into the narrative that they were going to try to sell in the event that he did make it to the presidency.
In the fact he did make it or didn't make it?
That he did make it. They had, that was their insurance plan. Remember, is the backup, and so I think that's why they planted Manafort in there, was to build the substance to that narrative or the insurance plan.
But they didn't use it that purpose. I mean, that was not used that way.
Well, that's one of the ties to the Russian narrative, is Manafort and Carter Page's previous history in Russia, and the fact that they were working on his campaign. Carter Page did a lot of oil and gas stuff, investment fund over in Russia, and then Manafort had links to the Russian government in both Russia and the Ukraine.
Was Manafort's I have to go back and take a look at the articles I've written on this. Hold on a second. It gets confusing.
There's a lot of information in WikiLeaks concerning Manafort being on the Trump campaign and his kind of rise to power within the Trump campaign and all that through Podesta emails.
Let me just check something out here for a second. Check out some manuscripts, some things I wrote before during the campaign. Let me take a look at them here for a minute. Okay, here we go.
And just to clarify, it doesn't mean that Manafort was necessarily complicit in their plan. It just means that the RNC used him to be in there because they knew of his Russian ties and they knew what the plan was.
Hold on a second. Let's see what I can come up with here. I want to pull up a couple of files.
One of our anons here, Dr. Corsi, is saying that it's Chava Anna is the anon. Manafort also worked with the Ukrainian dictator Yanukovych to keep the Ukrainian people from joining the EU, because that would go against Vladimir Putin's interests. Manafort made a dirty dictator a lot of dirty money.
Well, okay, here's the when Manafort was in the campaign, the Clinton press began accusing him of taking money under the table for consulting with Ukraine's ruling party, you know, during the administration of Manafort's main client, who is this president, how do you say it, Yanukovych. They couldn't make anything of that. Those were never proved to be legitimate. When Manafort first joined Trump replacing Lewandowski, New York Times had tried to portray Manafort as a supporter of Russian President Vladimir Putin and Putin's decision to give Yankovich asylum in Russia after being deposed in 2014. The goal of Clinton supporters at the time Manafort joined the Trump campaign was to assign Manafort responsibility for Trump's alleged admiration for Putin and all things Russian. Despite the questionable documentation for these allegations and the absence of criminal charges against Manafort in Ukraine, the mainstream media persisted to publish the accusations. Okay. Now, there was also involvement of John McCain in this, too. Of course, this is when Podesta was receiving the payments from Vexelberg and the Renova Group that were paying millions of dollars into a fund for Podesta. Now, let's say there was also some McCain involvement in this. McCain was playing some kind of a role in this, as I recall, as well. See, I don't know. McCain, I'm sure they tried to make... Okay, let's go back and look at that one. Maybe we're figuring it out a little bit in terms of the plant issue. Maybe I'm figuring it out. Hold on. For myself, I mean, this has been a puzzle for me as to what Q meant. Hold on.
If anybody in the Discord chat there has some thoughts they might be able to share with the doctor to help them out here, feel free.
We'll figure it out. Okay, so it's not been this 1008. It was not supposed to be revealed. POTUS is not under criminal investigation, not yet. Okay. Traitor. Okay, I'm not sure who the traitor is. A massive intel sweep. Manafort was a plant. Trace background. Open source. Who was arrested? Non-U.S. Trace background. Open source. Well, I mean, okay, so Manafort was with Yankovich. Yankovich was arrested. He's non-U.S. He was trace background. He was close to Putin. Putin brought him to Russia after he was deposed. Okay, so if Manafort is in the Trump campaign, that's a way to plant there that, it's Russia that Trump is trying to favor because he's hiring Manafort who's close to Putin. And Carter Page was a plant. Carter Page was also Gazprom and all the rest with before he joined the Trump campaign. Now, but see, Manafort played a very central role in the Trump campaign and was very loyal to Trump. Carter Page was peripheral, and it would make sense to me that Carter Page could have been put there by the FBI, but even if Manafort was somehow or other a plant that they were going to use him to tie Trump to Putin, I don't think Manafort was a plant, and that Manafort, I don't think, went in to play an operative's role to, find people in the Trump campaign who were colluding with Russia. I don't think that was the role Manafort was playing. Now, if we go to the conservative treehouse for a second, I guess there's more. Go ahead.
I think Carter Page is just a walking wire trap, Dr. Corsi. That's all he was initially set up for.
Pardon me? Set up for?
He was just a walking wire trap. Anywhere he went, he was toxic. As the Title I gave access to everybody's communications.
Yes, but see, when was the first FISA application for doing the electronic surveillance? Because Manafort was in there during the primaries, and I'm not sure it was that early that they were doing the electronic surveillance of Trump's campaign. It was later.
True.
Let me just check. So check over Treehouse and Carter Page. Okay, Carter Page. This was the one. Here's what Carter Page wrote about. Here's what the Conservative Treehouse wrote about Carter Page. I'll drop it in.
Yeah, and to your point, Doc, on Dr. Corsi, on Manafort, I don't think that Manafort knew that he was being used for
I don't either.
What they thought. I think that's why it makes sense that the RNC and the Never Trumpers, the one that put him in there under the guise that he was going to help the campaign. But in the event that things turned out the way they did, they could use that Russian connection against Trump because they knew that's what the plan was, because the DNC had been running that narrative out there with Guccifer 2.0 and trying to say that he's the hacker that worked with Russia that stole all the DNC emails and all that. So they had their plan in place back in May and June. And that's why there were so many Podesta emails that were concerning Manafort in WikiLeaks in that dump.
I would see it was Roger Stone who told Trump that he needed Corey Lewandowski could not manage the herding of the delegates into voting for Trump on the first ballot. At the time when Manafort was brought into the campaign to replace Corey Lewandowski was critical because Trump was right at that point was about to get enough delegates on the first ballot, but the Democrats were chipping away at the delegates, saying to them, you don't have to vote for Trump and you could vote for somebody else. And Kasich and the others were all doing the same thing. Remember, it was a time when a lot of the Democrats a lot of the GOP contenders didn't want to concede. Now, Stone said you got to get a pro. And Manafort had done this kind of delegate work before. This delegate work is very boring, very tedious. You've got to contact the delegates, get their allegiance, find out what they need, what they want, who they are. And Manafort's good at it. So he was not brought into the campaign by any forces that were trying to set Trump up. Now, he might have served the purpose of being used that way because he had these Russian connections. But Carter Page, this is what the Conservative Treehouse says. In 2013, Carter Page was working as an undercover employee of the FBI, helping them to build a case against Evgeny Buryokov. In March 2016, Carter Page remained their informant pre-trial, leading to a pleading of guilty from Buryokov. Okay, so I said pay close attention to the names, dates, and descriptions and all citations. In 2013, Department of Justice, Southern District in New York, announced an indictment against a Russian operative, Evgeny Buryokov. In March 2016, he pleaded guilty. Pret Bahara, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, and John Carlin, the Assistant Attorney General for the National Security, announced that this Buryokov pled guilty to conspiring to act in the United States as an agent of the Russian Federation without providing prior notice to the Attorney General. The FBI obtained recordings after Sporzyev, whatever that name is, attempted to recruit an FBI employee, UCE1, who was posing as an analyst from a New York-based energy company. In response to requests from Sporzyev, UCE1 produced Sporzyev with binders containing purported industry analyses written by UCE1, supporting documentation relating to UCE1's reports, as well as covertly placed recording devices. See, that's when Carter Page is widely suspected to have been this UCE1. In this case against Guryakov. And there's more on this in terms of how it could have been. 2018, I'm sorry, in April 2017, writing a story about Carter Page trying to enhance and affirm the Russian narrative, the New York Times outlined Page's connection to the Trump campaign. However, the Times also references Page's prior connection to the Burakov case. If you ignore the narrative, you'll discover UCE1's description is Carter Page. Okay, so that's, again, I think, you know, the key is that Carter Page was an FBI informant. Now, likely because on October 21st, 2016, the FBI claimed to a FISA court to obtain a Title I surveillance warrant that Carter Page was working on behalf of a foreign government. Carter Page was an FBI undercover employee in 2013, remained the primary FBI witness through May of 2016 through the entire case. Okay, now, what I was reading earlier about Manafort coming in was Manafort replaced Corey Lewandowski. More like, let's see, that was more like in August 2016. And the electronic surveillance wasn't until October.
Quick question, Dr. Corsi from the live chat. Canadian asks, is the Title I be retroactive? I mean, once he gets Title I or he's deemed Title I, can he go through his previous communications records up until the time when he was in contact before Manafort?
Possibly, yes. Possibly, yes.
Dr. Corsi?
Yeah.
Someone in the chat said Stone and Manafort were both part of a lobbying firm called Black, Manafort, Stone, and Kelly, which did a lot of... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's what I said. They all came up in this Charlie Black's lobbying firm. You see, okay, if you go back to the 70s, when Reagan was just beginning to really make his move with the guy to be president, Lee Atwater was a big operative in the Republican Party. And Lee Atwater was kind of this wild and crazy guy. He played, you know, rock music, and he was outlandish. But he was a brilliant tactician. And he was in the aftermath of the recovery from Nixon. See, Nixon in 72 resigned over Watergate. And then you had a period of time where, you know, Gerald Ford and Jimmy Carter came in and beat Gerald Ford. And then Jimmy Carter was running for re-election in, I guess it was 76 where he beat Ford. And then in 80, Reagan beat Carter. And Lee Atwater was a very, very big figure in this. I'll drop you an article about Lee Atwater. I never met Lee Atwater. But here, he died at age 40. This was his obituary. I'll drop that in here. Discord, okay. Now, Atwater, had a brain tumor. He was 37 when Bush named him chairman of the RNC after the '88 campaign. He was instrumental in Bush winning. He'd been instrumental in Reagan winning. First came to the national attention 29 when he helped Ronald Reagan win the 1980 Republican presidential nomination as the campaign's political coordinator. Okay, now, Atwater was in a whole group of people that included wait a second. Okay. This is an article on college Republicans, and what this points out, this is a New York Times article, and it pointed out that there were a whole group of these college Republicans coming around Nixon who had been very influential, up and coming, and they included Lee Atwater. They included Karl Rove's career in politics started as a blazer-clad national chairman of the college Republicans who won the position in 1973 over opponents supported by Roger Stone and Paul Manafort. All of these group of young Republicans were coming up together. It included Atwater, Roger Stone, Paul Manafort, Grover Norquist. A whole group of them were the young Republicans coming out of college. And they were very much competitive with each other. Now, Atwater had this outlandish personality, and Stone, in many ways, copied Atwater, and was very much like Atwater. He was, he learned the dark arts of politics. He learned how to compete, was looking, at the techniques of winning elections. Manafort was more of kind of a subdued guy, more of a business kind of a guy. And Stone and Manafort went with Charlie Black. I know Charlie Black. I've known him for years in Washington. He is one of the, here we go. This is the article I'm talking about with, Roger Stone, the young Republicans. Yeah, that's early Karl Rove. Somebody dropped that in. It's hard to remember, go back to when Karl Rove was Senate president. Yeah, that's young Karl Rove.
It doesn't look like Pigpen there, does he?
No, he doesn't at all.
That's Bush's brain.
Well, and all these guys were wanting to be, I'll go, here's an article I'll find on Charlie Black. Charlie Black is, a very, very powerful guy. He's getting, not as much as he used to be, but Roger Stone and Manafort joined with Charlie Black, and they formed this Black, Manafort, and Stone. And it was a lobbying firm, was formed in 1980. And they were major consultants for a long period of time. Charlie Black was considered to have worked on every Republican campaign since '72. He worked for Ronald Reagan's campaigns in '76, '80, and '84. He was senior advisor to the re-election campaign of George H.W. Bush, which failed. He's advised just about every major Republican since the 70s. Charlie Black has. And Manafort was more of the corporate of the three. You know, Charlie was an operative. Stone was more like Atwater. And Manafort was more the button-down, hardworking kind of operative that, you know, would be behind the scenes. You wouldn't know much about Paul Manafort being involved. Manafort made a lot of his money when he got the Ukraine contract and had not made a lot of money before then. And Roger Stone, you know, so all these guys have had to struggle because the money in political consulting comes and goes, even in Washington. I think probably Charlie Black has been the most successful of any of them. And when they talk about Manafort being a plant, he's only a plant in the sense, to me, that the Democrats felt like he would attract around him the Putin influence that would then be brought into Trump's campaign because Manafort was close to Putin and would bring along. So when they were looking to establish this narrative of Russian collusion, Manafort became central to it. And I can see in that sense he was a plant. A plant only in the sense that the Democratic opponents of Trump thought they could use Manafort to be a lightning rod for, like Carter Page, for all the Republican influence. And if they could just have electronic surveillance over Manafort and the others, they would find all the Russians that were helping Trump. Now remember, the whole idea of this Russian collusion derived from Trump saying in the campaign that he hoped that Russia would release Hillary's emails if they had them. Do you remember that? And it was an offhand comment that Trump made, and Trump did not really seriously mean that he wanted Putin to actually release the email. We didn't know that Putin had them or didn't have them. But that was what everybody said. Oh, well, see, he's trying to get Russia to release the Hillary emails because they must have hacked those the same way they hacked the Democratic National Committee emails. Well, it was Seth Rich who hacked the emails. It wasn't Russia. And so this entire Russian narrative falls apart. And then what they start doing is looking for anything connected to Russia as if it were a crime. Even today, they're still looking to see if any of these Russian oligarchs put money in directly into Trump's campaign, you know, donate it to the NRA, put it in the bank, take it out of the bank, not as an NRA, but as a contribution from someone to Trump's campaign, and you've laundered the money. They're looking for that now, which they're not going to find. That's how far down the road they are. So when Q says here, Carter Page was the other, why is Mueller going after inside plants? So why did he prosecute Manafort? Well, Mueller's continued to think that if he just pressured Manafort, Manafort would tell him all the Russians that were conspiring. And Manafort has not done that, largely because I don't think there were any Russians conspiring. And the Democrats just can't believe it. I mean, even this book, this, Russian roulette book is #1 right now on the New York Times bestselling list. And it's predicated on the same idea that the Russians were all over Trump's campaign. Now, I've known Trump for a long time, and I watched his campaign. I was not part of the campaign. I went in and saw Corey Lewandowski and Hope Hicks when it was just set up, and they were the only ones up there working. And I watched it through Sam Clovis coming in. Sam Clovis was going to be the guru. He's going to put together all the position papers. Well, Trump pretty well forgot who Sam Clovis was. Didn't care about position papers. Campaign went through Corey Lewandowski, then Manafort, and then, you know, Manafort ultimately dropped out, and you got the, that's when, what's his name, well, you know, Kelly and Conway came in with Manafort, but it was the last group, which was, what's his name from Breitbart, Bannon, Steve Bannon, came in as the last of the major advisors in the Trump campaign. Now, a major reason why Trump did not collude with the Russians is because the Trump campaign, in my opinion, was so disorganized they couldn't collude with themselves. And
did it appear that way, or was it that way for real?
It was that way for real. I mean, it was that way for real. It was really like all of Trump's organizations comes down to being run by 3 or 4 people they trust, and those people shift depending on who they, like Steve, you know, I mean, his lawyer Mike Cohen has been one of his longtime confidants. He trusts Mike Cohen.
You know, I've seen other things where, you know, there's a lot of things, people working outside of the actual campaign that seem to be, you know, fairly well organized, and they were definitely on the Trump train. So
like who?
Well, you know, I hate to say it, it's more like community action groups, you know, community organizers, you know. You have to admit the online work that they did was tremendous during the campaign.
Trump?
Yeah, I thought so.
Well, not all that tremendous. I mean, it was there, and there were different people who were doing different parts of it, but it wasn't all that organized. Trump's campaign was chaotic. It went from news story to news story. Every day he was getting hit with a new scandal. He was responding to those scandals all the way through. And it was constant. You know, the Roger Stone's book, what, you know, I contributed to helping Roger writing it, this Making of the President, 2016, is a good description of what the campaign was like. It was largely chaos. And
just close to the picture there, Doctor.
All right, what's the picture? Yeah, that's what it looked like in Trump's campaign. Exactly, the whole floor was like that. The whole floor of Trump Tower, which is a big building, and this was actually after I was up there. This is when they started building it out. When I first went up there, that whole floor was empty. And over there in this little corner was an office. And I went over to that, and there was Corey Lewandowski sitting at a laptop in shirt sleeves. It was about, I think it was August. And he brought in Hope Hicks, and Hope comes in, and she always looked like she was dressed for a beauty contest. Between Corey Lewandowski, he looked like he was dressed to go down to the local bar and have a beer. And Hope, these were the only two. And I was trying to talk to them about how, you know, I wanted to be able to attend events and get press credentials and be able to work with the campaign to cover Trump. And I ended up being satisfied that day that I came away with 2 Make America Great hats, which I still have, which were a couple of the earliest ones that he had produced. They had to scrounge around to find them. They finally found somebody who had a red one and a blue and a yellow and a white one. So I had my first Make America Great hats.
Isn't that one of Trump's big tools, is to make people, you know, give the impression that, you know, they're fumbling and bumbling, and, you know, somebody put it this way, you know, you think he's fumbling and bumbling, but in the meantime, he's counting your nose hairs, you know?
Well, look, Here's how it's hard to deal with Trump in this regard. I've had to come to experience this. First of all, his organizations are disorderly. They're kind of a disaster. They only run because a few small people who are very good and they pull things through. And they each take their areas of responsibility and are good at what they do. Trump is himself scattered. Things happening, he's reacting. Now, Trump is brilliant in that he can kind of sort through all of this, and he pulls it together in his mind, and he decides what he wants to do. But it's Trump deciding what he wants to do when he's at his best. Take some advice, he'll listen to everybody, and then he makes up his mind. And he doesn't need a big staff. He's not waiting for somebody to hand him a position paper to know what he needs to think. And so, you know, I'd go up and see Mike. I've seen Mike Cohen over the years, not just, you know, when the campaign started. And I go up to Mike Cohen's office and, you know, there'd be somebody in the office. Mike would bring me in and we introduce the two of us, and I didn't know who the other person was. And so I'm in the middle of intruding on his meeting. And that guy doesn't know why I'm here, and I don't know why he's here, but Mike's talking to us both. And then Mike's office is filled with memorabilia, all kinds of stuff. And there's people coming in and out, signing contracts, doing this. This has to be done. The phone calls are ringing. Mike's taking the phone calls while you're sitting there. It might be the New York Yankees because his kid is coming up in the New York Yankees organizations. It might be someone on a contract, and any call he could get at the moment, which he takes while you're sitting in the room. And that kind of chaos goes on. If you're there for 45 minutes or 2 hours, that goes on. It doesn't change. And there's a few people like Cohen and some of his bodyguards, some of his long-term associates, some of the staff that are his, you know, personal secretaries. They stay for a long time. And Trump rules in this organization. It's his decision. Now, as president, I think he's going to do better when he has fewer people, because he doesn't need this many people.
Most people don't.
No.
Overload. That's the problem.
And then you have to end up managing the people.
Drama.
Yeah, and the people have all kinds of drama. People management is drama. But, you know, when I wrote about, always writing about the campaign, it's a matter of, you know, events happening. Like, for instance, right in the period of time, just looking at the manuscript right now in of Roger's book, he brings in Manafort, and then immediately on that, he's into the, you know, they're into the presidential debates. And the first presidential debate, it's at Hofstra, and, you know, they're going through all kinds of issues, and I believe that's the issue in which the fat shaming and the beauty queen came up, because Hillary had that planted for her ending in the debate. So that took over 3 or 4 days of the news cycle, all about this Machado and the one who'd been called fat in the beauty contest. Okay, now that ended. The New York Times hit Trump on taxes. Okay, so it was one thing after another that the news cycle was dominated by, and Trump was in the middle of fending off the press, which he spent most of his time doing. Okay, and let's see what this is. Okay, so you come into this debate between Kane and Pence. Now we got the vice presidential debate, and Kane interrupted Pence. He said, "You guys love Russian. You both do." And Pence ignored Kane. He finished his sentence, but Kane retorted. He said, "You have both said, and you both have said, that Vladimir Putin is a better leader than the president." Okay, and then they tried to intervene. Kane continued with his attack on Russia. These guys have praised Vladimir Putin. Putin is a great leader. How can that be? A transcript indicates that Kane and Pence spoke over each other. And, so from that, even that vice presidential debate, they were staged to hit Trump on Russia. The Hillary people had decided they were going to make Russia one of the big themes and that they were going to hit Trump with it, and they were going to claim that Trump conspired to steal the emails from the Democratic National Party. Now, when we come back to 10:08, okay, immediately where Q goes is after talking about Carter Page was a plant. Why was Mueller going after inside plants? Because the whole scheme was that these were supposed to lead them to the Russians. And then he says, Flynn is safe. Okay, so, Flynn wasn't part of the Russian deal, and Flynn's going to probably get out because of the altering of the interrogation report 302 by Strozik and McCabe. It says, define witness. A witness, can a witness hold a position of power and influence while ongoing? Yes, and it says Russia, Russia, Russia. Fake or real? So immediately, Q knows that this thing is about Seth Rich. And then he brings up the MS-13. He brings out that no one really looked through the NSA data on the metadata on the emails that went to WikiLeaks. And if they did, they would have realized it was an inside job. And so you've got the FBI, the special counselor, DOJ, the Fed. Basically they're just simply trusting this CrowdStrike's report in the data breach. And Hussein blocked any real investigation. Hussein's state secrets, White House national security articles, buried. And then he brings up the Awan attached in my book, America for Sale, cheating Obama, trust the plan. So, Obama was also part of architecting this entire Russia deal. And the America for Sale, which Q keeps referring to, and I read some of yesterday, is all about how this hard left had a plan in mind where they were basically going to sell out the United States to the highest bidder for money, whether it was through trade agreements, whether it was through military technology being sold to Russia, through the reset, which Hillary and Podesta did, whether it was Uranium One, whether it was opening the border. All of these things go back to Obama saying to Medvedev, in my second term, I'll have more flexibility. I'll be able to give you guys more of what you want. I'll be able to sell America to you, be able to hand it over. Just give me a second term.
What about the situation where we've got China so heavily invested in the United States that, if we're, you always hear these rumors and things about, they're just going to hand over the West Coast to China,
Well, in some way, we had so much debt to China at some point or other. I contemplated that China might just take assets. But the point is, they knew they could sell off assets, and they knew that and America was for sale. Now, and I've pounded the New World Order on this, but Obama was specifically, I think Obama was largely hiding up, was wanting Hillary to win in part because if the voting fraud was ever fully disclosed, which it will be, on the Democratic Party, it would be clear that I think Obama knew that the voting fraud and their data operation in 2012 stole the election from Romney, who I think really legitimately won.
Well, I'm looking at this whole voter fraud issue as, it's been going on for such a long time that so many of these politicians are, they're frauds in their offices because of the voter fraud.
And it's the Democrats who are put in by it. But I mean, you'll remember how Obama backed off Romney in the third debate on Russia. When Obama said, "Oh, we're not worried about Russia. You're just worried about the Cold War." Remember to Romney? He made a fool out of him, tried to, over Russia.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, Obama was always in the bag for Russia. And, this is part of, I think, the issue with regards to Obama and his support of the Muslim Brotherhood, which is another, Russia-backed entity to cause trouble in the Middle East, is that Obama was always on the wrong side of these. Now, I'm going to pick up pounding Obama again, starting probably next week. They've got another one of these Dubai ports deals going. Obama sold Cape Canaveral to Gulftainer, and Gulftainer is just about, this is a Middle Eastern firm, they're about to get the Wilmington port. And they've, in the background, they've involved some of the nuclear weapon scientists from Saddam Hussein, some of the missile technology terrorists from the Hussein area, Saddam's area. Now, again, the selling of all these assets, the selling of Dubai ports, was one of the big themes I had in America for Sale. And Q keeps coming back to that book title. He's mentioned it now 3 or 4 times. I've been thinking about it. And what he's, I think, pointing out is that this whole Russia theme was one that ultimately the Democrats knew they were guilty of and decided just to blame Trump for what they were doing, when there's no evidence that Trump colluded with any Russians at all. Trump had business dealings with Russia going back decades, going back to the Miss America pageant. They contemplated building various buildings in Russia, Trump buildings, which never largely happened. And Trump's dealings with Russia were largely business dealings. But the Democrats were dealing with Russia from the point of view of selling assets, stealing elections, and essentially putting up America for sale. And by the time the uranium was gone and the technology was gone to Russia, military technology through the reset, we were working with their Silicon Valley. I'm sure lots of secrets were transferred there in technology. Eric Schmidt and the others. And so you get down to a situation where when you read this kind of post, which it's taken me a long time to think about this, 10:08 from yesterday, what I think it's all really about is that the theft of the Democratic National Convention emails was a Seth Rich, had nothing to do with Russia. And the real issue with Russia is that it was the Democrats who were colluding with Russia, being paid by Russia, were in Russia's back pocket, have been selling out assets to Russia and other Russian-controlled entities, and were planning to continue to do so after Hillary won.
At an increased pace.
At an increased pace.
With whatever is left, yeah.
And then you combine that with the other emails that were dropped yesterday. So we go to, for instance, 1010, where he's talking about money, power, control, which is what it's really all about. People are simply in the way. Money from Russia, power and control, winning elections. It's all about slaves sheep pawns, which is what we are, max extermination events to decrease the threat level of population, gun control, wars, fake wars, election rigging, again, control. Your voice doesn't matter. They'll handle you with, big pharmacy and opioids. That's not good. Poison the water and the air. Chemicals used for home cleaning. I'm surprised that chemtrails wasn't brought up here, which is a subject that Q is not really brought up at all, I don't believe. Then vaccines, tobacco, or opioids. The ultimate win, death and money. Then it goes into the Fed, the Rothschilds. Well, I think the Rothschilds are part of the international banking New World Order scheme, and Q sees them tied in not only with Russia, but corrupting the Vatican. Brings up the big Vatican loan here a couple of posts later. UK, Germany, 5 days. I think there's, big decisions on the Brexit. Choice is yours, revelations, enough is enough. And in the next post, Q brings up the North Korea diffusing, Russia testing new missiles, Russian new threat, coincidence. They must maintain threat to retain power influence. Are you awake? And this whole Hillary giving Russia the technology, the keeping people afraid. But the point is, I think the North Korea defuse is a major breakthrough for Trump, and one that does not necessarily show he's close to Russia. I think Russia and China both were happy to have North Korea be a nuclear weapons power. And the other thing that struck me in these posts yesterday was not only the corruption in our government and our electoral system, but the ties over the last couple of days to the Vatican and the corruption in the Vatican, the pedophilia, the child abuse, all these themes are coming back, and I think are going to be laid to the rest at the heart of the Democratic Party, having gone this hard, godless left. And the basic issue here is America for sale. And, that's why I focused on writing that book when I did after I wrote Abomination, because I was worried about these same issues at that time. And now they're coming out more fully in play. But as to whether or not Donald Trump colluded with Russia, I'd say absolutely not. Now, what are they saying over in live chat? Okay.
Quick question from me, Dr. Corsi, if you don't mind.
Quick question, what?
Quick question from me, if you don't mind.
Yes, go ahead. Sure. Absolutely.
I spent the last couple of days just looking in and sniffing around the Vatican and doing some research on that.
Yes.
Do you think, I'm not going to go into anything specifics because it's irrelevant, but do you think...
Go ahead.
Do you think that, say after the pair box, or if we get the trials underway, do you think the administration in its second term can do anything to affect any change in the Vatican?
Well, I mean, what's being brought out here is the corruption in the Vatican with the pedophilia and with the Satanism and the control by the major bankers, the Vatican Bank, Rothschilds loan, all of this is, such deep corruption in the Vatican.
But it's decades and centuries old. It's so powerful.
And the pedophilia, I mean, just the same as with, the sexual corruption at the heart of the Democratic Party and this elite. These are going to be such deep corruption, such, evil corruption, and frighteningly evil corruption, that when it's revealed, it's going to be just completely disgusting to the average person. And I think it's going to be a dark area that is going to be at the heart of, the corruption of the Catholic Church and the corruption of, the elite in the United States, which has gone in this direction of the socialism, the Satanism, and all the rest of the pedophilia. They share all these characteristics, Vatican and our hard left.
Absolutely.
I don't see any quick solution to them other than that these institutions, these institutions are going to have to be fundamentally redone, from top to bottom, or destroyed and started over again.
After that.
People are pointing out the Robert Rosenstein subpoena for documents that was due to Congress today. Did he produce them? I don't believe so.
Now at UK and Germany, 5 days. What are you looking at with that one?
I don't know. Is there a decision on on Brexit for the next 5 days?
GT, do you know anything about that?
Not that I'm aware of. I thought Daddy Dragon might be around, but no, not that I'm aware of. I haven't been paying attention to it just yet.
No, I haven't tracked that one down either, but I think we've come a lot closer to understanding these today. I apologize if they've kind of taken some time and been a little bit, tortured in the explanation, but unfortunately, Q is raising such issues that, when people listen to this decode session later, I want them to realize that this is how it's done. A lot of, is soul searching and going back and doing the research and looking at the analysis. I mean, it's why, again, I emphasize that I think Q is so legitimate, because the questions he's asking are forcing us to do this kind of a in-depth research to get at the bottom of some of these questions. And to me, that's the indication of, brilliant intelligence, someone who's really on the intelligence scene, figured it out, and is now presenting it to you so you can figure it out. But you're not going to figure it out without going through some of the struggle of appreciating what the deeper meanings are all about and how they connect.
One of the things that I've seen quite a bit, folks are getting pretty antsy about it, and that is the geoengineering aerosol spraying that's going on, or as it's been popularly known as, chemtrails.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's 2 or 3 issues. People are very concerned about the SES. They want the SES. I want the SES broken up, too. Chemtrails, geoengineering, again, another subject that we're going to have to look into. Now, you take the chemtrails, and we've got the issues of the opioids and Big Farm and how Big Farm operates, killing off people who are homeopathic doctors. And,
everything in that post 110 there, in the middle part of the post there, people would have expected that they would have put that in there too, because it appears that most people honestly feel that there's a major health concern that goes with that.
And there is. But, these things are, if you're going to rank the order of them, I mean, I would like to get to chemtrails, but I'd like to get to chemtrails, I'd like to get the chemtrails after we, dealt with some of the more serious issues like the opioids, which I take to be the MK Ultra program applied to the population as a whole.
Agree.
Which I think is a very serious issue. Now, the chemtrails comes down to this, climate change agenda, which is an ideology and thinking that we can alter the climate, and it's another loony left idea. But it's not of the same magnitude as taking MK Ultra out to the population as a whole. And so I kind of, just because we're not talking about chemtrails right now doesn't make it considered important. It's just that I don't think in the hierarchy of things, it's the most important right now.
Unfortunately, for most people, it's the most visible.
I know. I know.
I had a question about a post that's not exactly related to what we were just talking about. I don't know if that's all right if we can jump over.
Sure. Now, hold on just 1 second. Hold on. I'll be right back in a second.
Just having a quick look through any of the Brexit stuff we were looking for there. Thumper, nothing really stands out for the next 4 or 5 days. Just David Miliband asking for Labour to back the Brexit referendum.
I wanted to grab a book. Which post would you like? Let me just check one thing out on timing here. All right. Let me see. Hold on. Got to see if I got an email here in terms of what my schedule is going to be the next couple of days. Hold on. Let me make a phone call for a second offline. Hold on. I'll be right back, okay?
All right. We'll be here.
Okay, hold on.
Thanks, Dr. Corsi.
No.
Yeah, it's got to be one of the bugbears, isn't it, Thumper, for people? I say it here every day, is the chemtrails. Sorry, 412. What were you going to say, brother?
I was just going to say, I was going to ask him about the MS-13 and M being the 13th letter of the alphabet. You know, that makes MSM. And just, to me, that's really interesting considering, like, the mainstream media, MSM, MS-13. I don't know what Q was trying to, like, allude to there, but I was interested in Dr. Corsi's thoughts on that because that's something I've been kicking around all day.
Yeah, I heard you talking about that. That was very interesting.
A good cryptography session on the go here, I think, for you and Dr. Corsi, 412.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to see what he thought about that because I was looking at the history of the term mainstream, and believe it or not, it was a Rockefeller. I don't have it up anymore. It was a Rockefeller that really kind of coined the term mainstream and loved the idea of mainstream thought, and that was in 1963 was the first time he used it in a speech. And then I guess MS-13 was originated in 1980, but I don't know when like mainstream media itself really was coined as a term, you know, but I just find that really interesting. I was just trying to get some background on it.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting, yeah.
Hey, and if we've got other folks in the room, could you just blink your light or something? Let us know you're in there. We've got a lot of folks that are in the room here, but I'm not sure how many of you are actually here. Okay, Yoda's here. White Center. Under shock. Ninja War. Daddy Dragon.
Homeside is here.
Firefighter. Homeside. Okay, thanks, guys. I just wanted to make sure we, you know, lots of names in the room, and you know, if you've got questions for Dr. Corsi, don't feel, you know, like you have to, you know, throw them out there.
Yeah, but everything he says, he's on point with everything. It's, you don't really want to disturb him because he's on a flow.
Hey, Thumper, I've only been in for just a few minutes. I didn't even know he was on yet, but I'm sure I'll come up with some questions. Problem is I'm out running errands, so it'll just depend on how loud it is where I am.
Okay, I'm back. I'm back now.
Okay, we're ready.
Okay, Dr. Corsi.
Now, someone had a question, yes?
Yeah, that was me. And it's on post 1008. And
Okay.
About a little more than halfway down, he mentions MS-13 and then, you know, alludes to the fact that M is the 13th letter of the alphabet, so you end up getting his MSM, which is, you know, also what we, you know, the mainstream media. And I was just kicking around, I've been kicking that around all day. It was like, what is the relationship between MS-13 and the mainstream media? Is there any history there? Like, is MS-13 the mainstream media's army, you know? So, or like, I don't know, something like that.
Well, except that the mainstream media kind of protects MS-13. They don't make a big major point of how violent MS-13 is. They seem to suppress information in MS-13. The 187, Seth Rich and the MS-13 death. I mean, all of the drugs and everything else that MS-13 represents. That I think is again the wheel. There have been various thinkings about the wheel, whether it's a wheel of fortune or there's various interpretations of the wheel. But I think this meant, the mainstream media covered up the role of the MS-13 and the death of Seth Rich, and no investigation into WikiLeaks' receipt of information, no pull down of the NSA metadata trace, which would have involved C to WikiLeaks, which would have involved trace/C. I'm not sure what C meant. I was trying to remember what we came up with yesterday on that. No pull down of NSA metadata, period. Nothing transferred across the web, direct-to-direct bypass dump, which it seems to be the way that material was conveyed, was Seth Rich directly to WikiLeaks, maybe through one or more intermediaries, but it was a direct data pass. And then this whole no direct information into CrowdStrike, no direct investigation into the DNC computer software. I did a lot of investigation into the DNC software and proved that, for instance, Guccifer 2.0 did not hack the DNC server with emails and Podesta's emails in them with a separate computer. Yes.
I guess what I was asking was, do you like he's making it look like that 13 meaning being another way of saying M, and really the gang is MSM. Do you think that, like, I guess what I'm asking is, was the gang named that? Like, is that really why the gang is called MS-13? Is they want that just another way of saying MSM, or is that just like a happy accident and Q is kind of just playing off of it to make a point, the point that you're making now?
Well, MS-13 is Mara Salvatrucha, and Mara is the Spanish word for gang, and Salvatrucha is a kind of made-up word, but it's the MS-13 has that name, so that's the name. I think it's just a play on the 13. You add the M in, and you transform MS-13 into MSM. And the two are really in cahoots, because the mainstream media is not going to be reporting on MS-13. That's, I think, the basic kind of link there. And, all of this, that whole 1008, I think, is one of the more important drops we've gotten in a long time, because it ties a lot of the Russian narrative into these plants and how the plants were used, and the fact that there was no real investigation of what this DNC hack was about, which was not a hack. It was a breach from internal. It was a leak. That's where the Russian, without going into the breach. I'm sorry. Without going into the breach of the DNC emails and their transfer to Russia, there was no argument about Russia collusion to start with. That was the argument. I mean, now they're looking for, did he have a meeting in the Russian tea room in New York City with a Russian? Did he have Russian salad dressing? Did some Russian put money into the campaign through laundering it? Did somebody speak Russian? I mean, the Russian thing has gone out of control. because it means that anything Russian will be good enough for Mueller. Mueller's original mission should have been to find out who stole the emails from the DNC, but they've never investigated that. They didn't get the DNC computers and look at them. They didn't really look at the metadata and anything except for CrowdStrike, which was paid for by Eric Schmidt, who was working with Hillary's campaign and was likely a plant itself. They never really investigated Seth Rich's murder or all the claims from Julian Assange that this is where the data came from on the emails. And you know, yet when you come into it, they all trusted this CrowdStrike report, and you know, Obama blocked everything, controlled all the information. You know, I think the Awan showed up, and they're over there with free access to everything they want to get out of the Democratic computer, complete access to all the confidential information. And in the meantime, it's all America for sale to Russia, which is what the Democrats are doing and covering up. I mean, that's the whole, you know, nonsense of all of this. You know, for instance, this is where I went and picked up the book, The Russian Roulette. The whole campaign about the whole thing with the DNC breach. Here's the kind of, this is the way that the Russian roulette wants to construct it. You know, they're talking about, by now, Trump Jr. and Manafort had good reasons to believe the Russians were keenly interested in helping the Trump campaign. Both men, along with Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, had met the previous month at Trump Towers with a delegation from Moscow. Somebody's got an open mic. From Moscow, they were told they would have official documents incriminating Hillary Clinton. Manafort had also been emailed about the contacts that Papadopoulos had with Russian cutouts, trying to arrange a meeting between Putin and Trump. And Manafort had his own Russian to deal with. He was trying to placate Oleg Deripaska, the billionaire oligarch tight with Putin, who was pursuing him in legal action in the Cayman Islands for an accounting of the millions of dollars they had jointly invested in the ill-fated Ukrainian cable deal. 3 weeks later, Manafort had emailed his Russian business associate, Konstantin Kilmnik, with an idea about how to hold Deripaska at bay, offered to provide him inside information about the Trump campaign. If he needs private briefings, we can accommodate, he emailed Kilmnik on July 7th. Okay, so they want to show a big, all these guys are all working with Russia, and it's all in the background, and Russia is paying, and it's all a Russian scheme, when, in fact, as far as Donald Trump was concerned, you know, there was no Russian involvement at all. There's no proof that Russia stole the emails. There's no proof that Russia funded Trump under the table. What was Russia supposed to do? Convince Americans to vote for, I mean, all the people who are on this call, all the people who were MAGA, did Russia influence your vote? I don't think so. Russia was irrelevant. But yet the Democrats have been wanting to work all these timing and conspiracies and connections, and this one had a tie to Russia and that one had a tie to Russia. And, you know, constantly trying to, okay, so for weeks, the Democratic Party officials and others had been anxiously waiting to see if the Russian hackers who had broken into the DNC would do anything more with the documents they'd stolen. The suspected Russia front, Gusever 2, had posted some DNC documents, but none had been terribly damaging. Yet there had been an ominous forewarning. Gusever 2 had claimed he had given the major part of the papers, including thousands of files and mails, to WikiLeaks. Now Assange and WikiLeaks were proving Gusever 2 right. 2 hours after that tweet, they posted a trove of hacked ANC emails in one of the biggest political document dumps ever. Okay, so they're trying to blame Guccifer too, who never had any proof he hacked into the DNC email server, because they want to tie Guccifer to Roger Stone, who contacted Guccifer 2 after the emails started getting published. Okay, but this whole thing was a convoluted effort to make Russia at the center of Trump's campaign when it was ridiculous. And they lied in terms of tying Guccifer 2 into the DNC. Okay, so then by chapter 16, they said, does it even matter who hacked this data? Okay, so by now they're trying to say, forget about, it's not even the Russia hacked the emails. It's that, you know, all the ties between Russia and Manafort and Carter Page and Trump, all these Russians around, and so therefore Trump had to be in collusion with Russia. Okay, and then they boost up the Steele document. And Clinton, they quote Clinton all the time, you know, Hillary. There's no doubt now that Russia has used cyber attacks against all kinds of organizations in the country. And I'm deeply concerned about this. I know Donald's very praiseworthy about Vladimir Putin, but Putin is really playing tough long game here. One of the things he's done is let loose cyber attack to hack into government files, to personal files, to hack into the Democratic National Committee. And we recently have learned that, you know, this is one of their preferred methods of trying to wreak havoc. Then she brought up Trump's invitation to hack her deleted emails. I was so shocked when Donald publicly invited Putin to hack into America. Unjustifiable. Okay, now, all of this narrative about Russia has collapsed because there aren't any indictments. And all of this nonsense, you know, makes Isakov's book #1. Now, I'm not angry that somebody else's book is #1. That's not my point. My point is that, you know, as we try to tell the truth here and try to make it clear that the real conspiracy was among the Democrats, you know, no one wants to listen in the mainstream media. And that's what Q, I think, is saying, is that this is going to come out and it's going to, hold on a second. Okay, hold on. I have to take care of this too. Hold on.
Can I, are you...
Go ahead, I can do this end, but am I making sense to everybody?
Absolutely, yes, Dr. Corsi. I'll just take over the mic for you while you take care of what you need to do there. Just wanted to report on some movements from the Clintons. Bill is here in Ireland to give a speech, and giving a speech on the Good Friday, and he's with Senator Mitchell, and he'll be giving a speech, and some of the participants in some of the speeches will be our own ex-Taoiseach, Bertie Ahern, who we mentioned in one of our interviews, Dr. Corsi. And Mr. Ahern has recently come out and said that he's going to run for president, which is a strange coincidence.
Really?
We've got a candidate. We've got a candidate running here now, Mr. Kevin Sharkey, who's been on the mainstream media here over the weekend and couldn't be attacked. But I just noticed that Bill is flying in on the 10th of April, and I wonder if that's some sort of troop movement where they're communicating with each other.
Okay. Hold on a second.
No problem, sir.
Right.
Plenty of interaction there from the live chat. Keep your questions coming and we will get to you, live chat. See everybody's paying attention. The doctor will be back with us now in a second.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to arrange my for getting down to Washington tomorrow to beat the snowstorm. And we're going back and forth as to when my radio interviews are, when I can leave, and things of that nature. It's confusing. It's difficult.
Take your time, sir, because I'm sure the people want you out there, so take all your time in your preparations. I see Freddie Rose in the live chat says go throw a tomato. Could be risky doing that. Freddie, you'll have to be careful. Plenty of questions still pouring in. Take your time. Keep them coming.
Okay. Okay, we got that squared away. Okay, so what are the questions coming in from the chat?
No, just questions in, just to say that the people are bringing in their questions, nothing specific. If you want to have a read through there, if there's anything in specific you'd like to pick out.
Yeah, people are still asking about 1027, nothing on the news. It just got dropped by Drudge that Trump tossed away his script today. Let's see what this is about. Okay, hold on. Trump ditches his tax script. Okay, he ditched his boring prepared remarks at a roundtable in West Virginia. Repeated his claim that millions of people are voting illegally, and boasted that he was right about the threat of Mexican rapists. You know, this is going to be my remarks. It would have been about 2 minutes, but to hell with it, he said. Hold on a second.
Go on, Doug. Go on, Mr. President.
Well,
I watched it. It was vintage.
This is, yeah, so this is what it was, is awake about all night last night. So that, but he said, you know, this is going to be my, it would have been about 2 minutes, but the hell with it. He tosses papers in the air. let's hear. Let's see if he does it here. Let's see if this is right here. I'd love to see him throw the papers in the air. That'll be great. The event which the president and state officials were slated to discuss the recently enacted Republican tax law quickly veered off track as the president doubled down on some of his most incendiary remarks. Okay, let's see what he says. Let's see if we can play this. Hold on a second.
Any researchers in the back there, if you have anything there, throw it into the Discord and we'll see if we can
Wait a
bring it
second.
up. No problem, Doctor. Okay.
Let's see if it's here. Okay, so he said, I'm just playing, see if this is a video of it. Trump, who was announced, okay. Trump, who was announcing the launch of his presidential campaign in 2015. I was there at that meeting. Hold on. Okay. Denounced those he called rapists coming into the U.S. from Mexico. Remember my opening marks at Trump Tower when I opened? Everybody said, oh, he was so tough. I used the word rape. And yesterday it came out that somewhere in this journey, women are raped at levels nobody has ever seen. Okay, and so then he visited that millions of people illegally cast ballots. In places like California, the same person votes many times. You probably heard of that. They always like to say, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. Not a conspiracy theory, folks. Millions and millions of people. And it's very hard because the state guards their records and they don't want to see it. Okay, so then he hammered Democratic Joe Manchin of West Virginia for voting against the tax bill, suggesting the voters will still have the chance to retaliate at the ballot box in the fall midterm elections. You're going to have a chance to get a senator that's going to vote for our program. It's going to help you in so many ways. Well, so Trump went off script, and he pounded the Mexican rape and the border issue, and he pounded the voting. And I think that what he was staying up all night about last night was basically, you know, his concern over these issues that are going to be developing. We're going to get, I think, the Department of Homeland Security voting study out sooner rather than later. And Trump is setting the stage for that. And then this whole issue with the need to protect, this invasion coming in from Mexico, that's another one. So I think that we do have some big news today and what Trump went off script to do. And that's basically what I'm going to interpret that 1027 as being about for the moment. Unless we get something more. Hold on, let me just do, see if we can do the DHS.
Live chat reporting that 2,000 to 4,000 National Guards are being deployed per Fox News just now.
Good. That's okay, hold on. All right. We don't have anything new right now on the DHS study. We probably won't have it until it's actually dropped. But in terms of everything that has gone on today, I think that these comments are probably what was referred to last night. Yeah, Trump tossed his comments, threw them away. I like it. That's Trump. Let's just check a couple more things. I think, has this been a helpful session today?
Absolutely, yes.
Always.
Well, I mean, it's so detailed and so necessary to get into these kinds of details. Which Q drop was most important the last 2 days? I think in the last 2 days, the ones that have impressed me the most have been this whole Russian collusion that we've talked about today, and a deepening setting of the stage for the pedophilia and the Satanism that we're going to be encountering, and more preparation on that. I thought these were some of the most powerful posts that we've had on either for a long time. And the fact that we are now raising issues of the Vatican Bank and the Rothschilds, the international bankers, the constant money that is being put into the omnibus bill for Cory Booker, Chuck Schumer, Chris Christie, the Brennan again, and the Analysis Corporation. All these things I think are now becoming increasingly clear as major themes. If I had to pick one or two, I'd say that 1008, which we've been decoding a lot today in terms of Manafort, was a plant. I think we've got a much better handle on that one. And then 1010 with this money, power, control. People are simply in the way. And ending up Rothschild, conspiracy. And all the things, pharmacy, the air, the water, the chemicals. I do think it sets the stage for talking about chemtrails. And wars, election rigging. And Trump today just, throwing out the prepared speech and saying he's going to protect the wall, he's going to protect the border, and that, he is concerned about all the rape and the criminality going on south of the border with these invasion from Central America, and the corruption, the pedophilia, Epstein's Island, the Vatican. These are more intense reminders, I think, than we've had for a while of the fact that these issues are coming out. I think that we may have more of a release out of what's in Weiner's computer. We may see the sex tape that's been talked about. I don't know, that sex tape has been talked about so much with Hillary that I'm not even sure it exists anymore. But if it does, it probably has some tie to the Weiner's computer. I think I'm going to go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I think just reading through some of live chat's conversations, and I think the sense is that maybe I'd agree with Lionel. Lionel did a video today just referencing that, talked about some of the Q drops and talked about the lack of justice in the country, and that until HRC is prosecuted, till the hammer drops. I mean, there's so many numerous accusations out there. People are so frustrated. And Lionel just pointed out saying that you can have all the drops, we can have these drops, but why isn't there a prosecution? We need one of the players. You know, we've only got one significant arrest. That's not even of note.
Well, see, the thing is, and I know this is a difficult time, this period right here. You know, if you take a look at the way I kind of staged it when I did the Killing the Deep State, the phase one is Mueller's investigation ends. And we're very close to that right now because he really has nothing. And those few more aspects of this drama to be played out, but not many. It's very important that he said that it's very important that, you know, we've gotten through the idea that Trump is not a subject of he's not a target. Now, he wouldn't say he's not involved at all, and they're probably going to have some way to, where Trump, I hope Trump does not testify to Mueller, where Mueller has the opportunity to try to catch him on lying.
Agreed. He's just looking for an indictment on any trip up in any statement, and they can drop a charge.
We're in the middle of a turnaround. This is a turnaround that is going to get a counterattack started, and the investigations are underway. If we take a look at what Conservative Treehouse has reported, I think a number have been segmented off in Department of Justice that are going to be indicted, that are cooperating. There's going to be indictments, and Trump is going to have a counterattack. Now, the counterattack is going to get started probably this month, maybe next, but it's in the works. And when it starts, it's not going to be over in a week. It's going to be a year, maybe 2 years of rooting out this deep state corruption. And Trump is going to have to do it systematically. It's probably going to involve martial law. We're going to have major revelations coming out on the pedophilia and on the Vatican. These things are in the works. I mean, one of the things in dealing with intelligence is you're reading intelligence, and you're looking at discussions of things that might not happen for the next year, or maybe 2 years, or maybe never. But you know, in reading the intelligence, that there's something that led to these reports, and there's forces at work that you have to understand below the surface. So I'm expecting that April is going to be kind of a end of Mueller, starting of the counterattack, and that it's going to pick up speed. And we're not going to be satisfied in the first month. It's not going to be April showers, May flowers, where we're going to have everything be resolved. But May is going to be the beginning of it being resolved in a much more positive way, and the corner is going to be turned. People are saying I'm making excuses for Q. No, I'm not making any excuses for Q. I'm just explaining the reality of how this is going to unfold. It can't be the people who want to see Hillary arrested and jumpsuited and marched across the square and pilloried. That's not how this is going to happen. It'd be satisfying, but all you would do in that regard is convince the other side that, you know, we were as vicious as they are. It's got to be done systematically. It's got to be done with the predicate being set up. I mean, now Trump, for instance, with the border, he's been begging for the border money. He's been down there looking at, now we get this invasion coming in, and it's clear the Democrats and the left are in complete disregard of what Trump wants to do. So he sends the National Guard. Now, sending the National Guard has got to be very satisfying, and that's got to be a major move. Got to be seen as a major move. And it's one that Q predicted and had us looking at and thinking about well in advance. People are saying, and I see it in the live chat, you're tired of waiting.
I wouldn't say now, Dr. Corsi, I wouldn't jump to that. People are frustrated, I understand, but I think the majority of us would agree with your synopsis. It is going to take time. We do understand that the machinations of jurisprudence and that we have to take our time in understanding that the Q drops are a prediction or a guide to what's going on behind the scenes, and we have to allow it time to come to fruition. These things, as you say, will be 2 years at least before they can be deciphered and gone through. It's just, we're at that very critical stage, and I totally concur with what you're saying.
Well, and people here, they say, it's time for the pitchforks and shovels, and let's set up the gallows. And,
It's laughable. It's not going to happen.
And look, it's been over a year. The corruption we're dealing with took a long time to form. It's going to take some time to unwind. And Donald Trump is going to be doing it as brilliantly and as skillfully as anybody could possibly be doing it. And he's been doing it in a way that is a great opposition. The mainstream media is fighting, and all the rest he's fighting. We need, as a movement, Make America Great movement, a movement behind Q, to remain in support and to remain constant, to remain decoding, to remain red pilling. I must have spent 7 hours today on the radio. Well, if I'd have had 8, I'd have done 8. Because every one of those is an opportunity to speak to people who haven't been red-pilled, who haven't heard it, who haven't seen the evidence. We fought the battle today, and Amazon relented. They decided they would accept the advertising. We pounded Bezos hard enough that they decided it wasn't worth the fight.
Brilliant.
Now, is that a big victory? No, but it's some victory. And those who followed it understood now more clearly what the mainstream media censorship is all about. I mean, next thing they'll do is they'll ban my book altogether, and I won't be allowed to publish it. After that, I'll be in prison for writing it. That's the next step, in prison for writing it.
People have to understand
that's what we have to fight, yes.
People have to understand that these are skirmishes in the battle. What you're doing and what you're engaged in, these are part of skirmishes in the whole of the battle.
And I'm going to come down to Washington. I'm going to leave tomorrow to be there ahead of the snowstorm. I'm going to be at the book signing at the Barnes & Noble. Which Barnes & Noble is it? Do we know which? I guess it's at the Catholic University. I think we have the address of the book signing. We need to post that here in live chat so everybody knows where it is.
I'll get that out for you there now, Doctor. I can drop it out first.
And the rally is going to be another step in the movement. What we're doing with the decoding, what we're doing with, today, look at what's happened with Zuckerberg and how Facebook is repositioned, how much on the defensive now Google is and Twitter is and YouTube are, which are all now being seen as the typewriter, the interface for the NSA and the intelligence agencies. And within a matter of 2 weeks or 3 weeks, Trump has repositioned how the entire nation, social media. Zuckerberg has gone from being a hero to being a villain. And, these are astounding changes in public attitude. I'll be presenting information next week. I've gotten it. been informed again we've got another Dubai ports going on. Gulf Tainer's about to buy the Wilmington port. They have a whole plan. There's another selling away of assets that was set up under Obama. And I'm sure Trump is not fully aware of it. But by the time we get this publicized over the next 2 weeks, Trump will be aware of it. And people are saying, yeah, it's a good point in terms of if Hillary had been elected, if Hillary was president, we wouldn't be having a First Amendment. We wouldn't be having a Second Amendment. We'd be, well, the social media wouldn't be under attack. We'd be being censored. Thank God for Donald Trump being in. And if it takes him a little while to get all this done, I'm glad to see him throw his papers up in the air today. It was a big moment. And to say he's worried about the Mexican invasion, and he's going to take that very seriously, as well as the voter fraud. I mean, Trump's continuing to put issues on the agenda, continuing to do winks to all of us following QAnon. The tip-toppy remark on the Easter White House Easter egg roll. This is a fundamental shift, and thank God we've got Donald Trump in there. It's changing faster than anybody realizes. We started out with a few anon. We've had, up to 4,000, almost 5,000 people watching, 6,000 people in some of these decodes for as long as 2 hours, which this one is going on to. And that patience, that determination, that dedication, take the MAGA movement, the Q movement, and take it from, a few million people to 20 million people. And that's going to go from 20 to 40 million people who are now going to be aware of Q and the whole phenomenon. And, I'm arguing even today in radio and convincing people that Q is not a LARP, that this is real, and presenting that evidence and doing the discussions. This is how it's done. I've been at it. I started in 2004 and thought it would be 15 years before we'd made any impact. Well, we're just coming right up to that now. And I told my wife, expect it to be 15 difficult years. And if we make a difference in 20 years, nothing. It would be in a blink of an eye. And that's what time it takes in order to get a number of books out there, to get a number of discussions. And Q is doing a remarkable job with these posts. I applaud Q, and I applaud everyone here who's dedicated to Q, because this is what it's going to take to be the second American Revolution. And when it's done, I think we can transform the country to keep the Constitution and to make this country safe for another generation, for our lives and the generations to come. Every generation has to fight this battle, and this is our day, and it's our battle. It's our Lexington, and it's our Concord. So with that, I'm going to say God bless, and there's the address. It's going to be at Barnes & Noble at 625 Monroe Street, Southeast Washington. It's starting at 3 p.m. And I'll be there. 625 Barnes & Noble, 625 Monroe Street, Northeast. Put that in my computer right now. Or just do it. Hold on. And let's end by saying, God bless everybody, and let's, where we go one, we go all.
That's brilliant, Dr. Corsi. Thank you very much.
God bless.